silent, I would say, and on the other end, asking a lot of questions in their mind too that they probably cannot put, or even if they put, they usually don't get answers. So this whole session is actually about getting introverts come at the front with all what they've got, and just break certain myths, answer certain questions, queries, because when we are working in teams, there are different kind of people. Diversity is not just about gender, it's not just about knowledge, it's not just about intellect, it's all about your personality as well, how you perceive things, how you react in certain situations. So like, I will definitely like to narrate the topic today that we have inside the introverts workplace, very catchy, and we just want them to unveil their professional journey and perspectives, how they look at the world. So, with us, we have two esteemed guests today. Three, in fact, because I'm the one who's going to moderate it as usual, because I really enjoy doing this job. And first of all, we have Miss Khezran Barakzai with us. She's actually holding LLM from UK, in fact, and of course a member of Honorable Society of Grace in, and she's in the process to become a registered barrister, I would say. So welcome, Ms. Khezran. Thanks a lot
Thank
for
you.
joining us on Confluence. And then our second guest, Ms. Sana Muhammad Tariq. She's leading teams, in fact, in education sector, and education leader herself. And of course, both other guests for the day, the exclusive guests, are introverts. So, Ms. Sana, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank
And
you
in
so
fact, our creative head, Ms. Verda Yusuf, she is also a distinguished guest for the day. So, starting with the big question, who are the introverts? And I would just leave it on my guest for now that who wants to answer that.
I definitely raise my hand on that.
Yeah, please. Perfect.
I've been an introvert for the longest time, and I think that if I really look into it, I think I'm the only introvert in my family. Alhamdulillah, mashallah, all of my siblings, even my parents, they're great extroverts. But then again, I think being an introvert, I add to the family, and there's so much that I can cater to in a different manner in comparison to extroverts generally. So
Perfect.
if I just generically delve into this topic, I just say that introverts aren't socially awkward or antisocial. They have their own way of dealing with situations, and they cater things in a very beautiful and different manner. For example,
Right.
sitting in my classroom during my LLB or LLM, or while I was on the bar course as well. Um, Often students, and I've studied in an international institution, an esteemed one, so uh, people from all walks of life, they could just perceive me as somebody who maybe didn't prepare as much when some quizzes would go on or whatever, because I'd be the one to be extremely quiet and I'd just be to myself. I wouldn't be as garrulous as other extroverts might be in the class. But then again, alhamdulillah, I'm not to not to sound like a narcissist, but I would score relatively better in my examinations because I wasn't as vocal as other extroverts can be. Because introverts, they just like one-on-one conversations, they keep to themselves, and they prefer intimate conversations, in comparison to things that are on a greater level, and they usually avoid crowds as well. So that was that. And then when I kind of stepped into a little bit towards professionalism within the legal fraternity, even within courtrooms, a lot of people would say that, they come up to me and they just ask me if I'm okay because I would have a stone face on myself. As if I
Perfect.
am. And this comes out very intrinsically. But that's the thing, I think that my introversion has helped me so much in the legal fraternity as well, because introvert lawyers, or people who are like seeking pupillage or whatever, they're trying to be barristers, they can be great listeners, and great listening is an amazing strategy, especially within the courtrooms, whether you're on a lower level or on a higher level. So we'd be able to cater to things like that very nicely. So yeah, I feel like tabooing introversion is not necessarily a good thing. We have a very different way of dealing with things, and I think that it just works out for us in such a manner.
And that's perfect. But very elaborative, to be honest with you. And I mean, you just answered a couple of questions that we had. Very important questions. So I was about to ask you the same thing that, okay, by profession, you're a lawyer. And, you have to go there and you have to just speak and speak and speak at the time when you're in the court, because we don't really know much about it. If I've been to a couple of times, given professional commitments, that was just like, okay, they just keep going on. But before we get back to that, how exactly introverts manage when they take stage, because it is a fact that the moment they take the stage, nobody actually can understand that they are introverted people, and they're not that vocal usually. So we'll take this to Miss Sana for now. What are your views on it? And being a professional, how do you handle yourself, carry yourself as an introvert?
Okay, so being an introvert, I believe I have certain strengths which work in my favor. But on the other hand, I have certain challenges and misunderstandings people tend to have about us introverts. So starting from my strengths is actually, I think, as Ms. Khezran has already said, that we introverts, we have certain listening abilities and skills. We are active listeners. We listen first and then respond. We do not listen to react. Actually, I think introverts listen to respond, and that is one of the biggest strengths of any individual, I can say.
Perfect.
Other than that, we maybe have the attention to detail. We are invaluable in this context because when we are observing things, we are not, you know, judging things, or we are not, very readily reacting on certain stuff. So it usually acts in our favor. Right?
All right, that's perfect. But again, you used a word called misunderstanding. So this is one of the things that mostly an introvert, because I, being an introvert myself, I believe that okay, probably I'm misunderstood, and usually I am. This is it because you do not interact much in social settings, and you don't know exactly how to do it. It's the way our brains are wired. To be honest with you, we just keep on observing, 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 getting lots of data, connecting dots, and then trying to figure out what to say in a certain situation. So even if you ask a question to an introvert, because when you go to interviews as well, the questions are very subtle. You cannot comprehend whatever they are going to ask you about. Sometimes it just feels like that you have to take this pause of 2 or 3 minutes seconds and then come up with your answer. So and then you're just literally judging yourself, okay, whatever you're about to say, how would the other person receive? Because with introverts, when it comes to empathy, usually with introverts, of course it's with the extroverts as well, I've seen extroverts exceptionally empathetic, but with introverts it's a bit more common. So let's ask the same question to Ms. Yusuf, that okay, how do you believe that this misunderstanding is basically affecting an introvert at workplace? You must have interviewed people, you must have interviewed introverts as well, you must be working with introverts as well, you're managing teams, you must have people there who are introverted. And what are the basic characteristics that you can actually bring out, what you spotted in them?
So, thank you so much for having me, Nansab, as usual.
You're
I
welcome,
think we
ma'am.
owe it to the panel as well to have spared their time for this auspicious occasion that we've arranged for people who are actually looking forward to hearing exactly what are the challenges, even at the workplace. Interestingly so, and probably you people would not agree to it, or maybe even people who know me. I have been an introvert myself all my life. I loved being alone. I liked keeping to myself, and probably that's the reason we were well read, because we kept reading books all by ourselves in our rooms. We had this setup at my in my upbringing. I mean, we were all secluded, and we all had those personalities. So I think it makes it easier for me to identify introverts in my workplace. And for a team to be managed under a leader, you really need to be, um, let's just say, knowledgeable and absolutely informed about the strengths of your people. Simple as that. So I encash upon that opportunity where I spot an introvert because I know they'll do a great job. There have been people at my workplace, and amazingly, they have been outstanding speakers. Despite the fact that the common notion about people who are introverts is probably because they're not that social, they have this anxiety, they can't really come. But when they do take the stage, I mean, I've witnessed it myself. They are amazing. And being one myself, I understood how this is going to work. So I believe identifying your people, and then of course all those traits that these so-called introverts have mentioned right here. So they're amazing listeners, yes, and they're amazing observers, which is why this is such an insightful discussion that we're having here.
You're right.
This actually
So
sort of converts into making sure that you utilize these strengths of these people, and then you encash so much on it. Some people are very impulsive. Extroverts are usually impulsive. They would rather be there out front and bursting out with their opinions. But then these people observe, they take their due time, and then they proceed on to doing things. So I believe identifying your people to begin with, and then encashing those strengths is the way to go. Yeah.
This is perfect. So, just another question from you, then we'll move to our guests, the other guests as well. That, okay, there is a big notion that probably they are antisocial, or I would call it that they are a bit awkward in social settings. Awkward in a sense, you might find them being very silent, not mingling enough, or you can even read their faces if somebody has this ability. There will be sort of an agitation, okay, what they're saying, how they're doing. So, I reckon that we should ask an introvert first. How exactly do they manage? So, Khezran, how do you actually would like to respond to this? This is a huge claim that okay, they are socially awkward. Even in meetings when they're sitting, they're the most silent people. They do come and contribute, but that is very brief. But yeah, to an extent, a bit concrete as well. So, what is your idea on this?
It's a thank you for asking this question. It's a very interesting question, and it's I mean it's a bit of a taboo, honestly, because I think a commonality for me all my life has been that when I befriend somebody, whether it's in a workplace or in my domestic space or at my at law school or any place of institution, usually when people would befriend me, the first liner that they would say that, oh, before we spoke to you, we perceived you as someone extremely rude or crass or oppressive. Literally, this is such a commonality, but I don't blame them because, like I said, I usually I have this stone face on, and it's incredible that people think such a way. Because when I speak to them, I would like to be courteous and polite. So yes, that they do misconstrue you, and I don't want to use the word judge because there's certain negative connotations attached to it, but they kind of do perceive you to be as somebody who is not interested in maybe speaking to you, or maybe you're agitated, and they kind of like just make out that you're not interested in befriending them or whatever. But yes, of course, that's not the case. Just because we keep to ourselves and we prefer intimate conversations doesn't mean that we don't like the person we're about to be a friend or whatever. But yes, it is interesting. But I feel like once you kind of break the ice and truly delve into a conversation, it gets easier, and the person in front of you kind of gets to know you on a one-on-one level, and they understand you, and they kind of get to know that okay, you're not their arch enemy. I know you don't also plan to do such a thing. So yes, I think that it takes is just is a very brief conversation, and then the person is able to get understand and perceive you who you truly are. But yes, sometimes where there are, for example, in a situation or in a public setting where I need to do something or something has to be done effectively, then I feel like introverts on their level also have to make this effort that they kind of have to get out of their bubble, they have to step out of it, and they have to speak about certain things and even kind of approach people on their own, because usually introvert people, they just expect people to come to themselves because they wouldn't kind of step out of their circle. um, but I guess yes, once you get to that, it kind of works out for you, and it's not as hard, I suppose. But yeah, you just have to kind of just take the first step, and then you kind of break the ice, and then just works out for you.
All right, that's a very, very fine response. I think we'll have a little break from Sir Hanan's side. They had a power outage. So, how about we proceed towards Miss Sana and take the same question with you? What's your view on this?
Okay, so I've had several instances in my life where people just used to think of me as antisocial because I wouldn't just normally mingle with them. The first one started back in my O levels. Uh, my best friend, who is now my best friend, was a good whole year that I didn't used to talk to anybody because I was silent, I was shy. Maybe I was an introvert since birth. So when we got to know each other, she was like, first time I saw you and the first time we met for the whole past year, I thought you are so rude. So these are I have received plenty of times, even in my workplace. There was an instance with a coworker. I engaged with that particular coworker for like a good 1 year because of my introversion, because I was of the view that maybe the other person is not that, you know, into deep conversations, into meaningful conversations. So I just held my foot back. But when they got to know me, when people actually got to know me, so that antisocial thing, that antisocial phenomena about me, it just vanished. Because, I believe we are not Right, social. We're just selective with our relationships, with our friendships, with any sort of relationship, be it at work or personal lives, in schools, in universities. So I really agree to this that we are perceived as social, and I think we are at times antisocial. Previously, we were talking about stage fright. I have it, a very bad stage fright, because I do not actually prefer talking to people that much because of my trait of an introvert. So whenever I take the stage, I am always shivering that maybe this will go wrong, maybe that will go wrong, maybe people do not want to hear what I'm going to say. Maybe they do not want to, watch me say anything. But that's just the fear instilled among us because of our, characteristics of being introverts.
That's a wonderful insight. I actually would compliment you on the right selection of words. You're selective. That's how it is. Is that so with Khezran? Is that the case as well with you? You're selective
Absolutely.
with friendships.
100%.
Right. So
Absolutely.
how does it work out with you people when it comes to workplace? Are you selective with choosing the right colleague also? But then how does collaboration happen at your workplace? I mean, I'll start with Khezran if she could, build upon it.
I can kind of accentuate on a couple of points, and I'm sure Miss Sana can expand on them because she's more into her profession than me.
Sure.
I feel like that you don't have much of a choice when you are in a workspace environment because you have to make it work. You're on the job, you're being paid for what you do. And if you're passionate about it as well, you just have to make it work. Because, either you're looking for a certain experience or you're just having, you have a couple of goals listed that you need to kind of cater to. So you need to kind of like make it work. So I feel like that. Uh, for me as an introvert, I would like to quote the story of Jekyll and Hyde, like two stark opposites. So when I am in my domestic space or when I am somewhere outside in a social space, I would be the introvert that I am. But I think when required to do so, I would just kind of like switch to my alter ego, a stark personality, and I would try to really step out of my bubble and make it work with people. Because of course, whether it's the legal fraternity or any line of work, without collaboration you can't really achieve a lot of goals. So I have to, as a person, kind of bolster my spirits and really get out of my bubble and just make it work. Because if I don't do that, then I'm just going to be left behind, and I won't be able to do anything about myself. Especially if I'm passionate about the work that I do. I feel like for me what worked for me was that if I wanted to, for example, talk about something, or I might have a difference of an opinion or maybe a disagreement on a particular aspect of this work that we're doing, there are different dynamics how introverts deal with such things. For me, instead of directly approaching the person and kind of confronting them, I would just have like, I would maybe look out for a discussion and then kind of slide that thing within the discussion, because to avoid a confrontation. Because like Miss Sana said, very accurately said and very aptly put, we have a lot of social anxiety and we get those stage fright jitters as well, and not just before coming to the stage, even if we're about to speak to someone. So we have those sort of feelings running down and those collie wobbles in the tummy. So yeah, I feel like it's you ease up to it when you have a discussion instead of confrontation, and you can really make it work. I'm sure Miss Sana can expand on that now.
I think I really request Miss Anna to build upon it from her circle and from her corporate life. How do you feel about it?
Okay, so about versus being selective about as Sister very nicely put in this statement, introverts are very good observers. So we need to know observe people, how they operate, what vocabulary they use, what triggers them, caters to them the most, caters to their, emotional satisfaction. So we, I would say, adjust our vocabulary accordingly. For example, if I know that any friend or a colleague of mine does not like something ordered, of course I would not use any such word, or I would not use any such which uh, demonstrates that particular. So being selective about words is actually being a very good option. have to be observant of people, their attitudes, their behaviors. That is how we interact with people without even thinking, because we're not very good at talking people out, or talking with people in conversations. Usually do not see unless and until we are amongst. So at times it is misunderstood as
Miss Anna, I'll just have to stop you here a bit, interrupting you, unfortunately. I think there is a problem with the audio because I just got a comment from a viewer that there is some problem with the audio. So, in the meantime, if you could just work a little on it. However, I'll just route the same question to Khezran for a while to fill in the space for now.
Yeah.
So, Khezran just answered the same question. I'd really appreciate if I could also, make a comment here. So it's actually
Sure.
interesting because, so I posed a question to them asking how do they really make a conversation with the people at their workplace? Because this is a very interesting notion where we find out that introverts are actually people who would be very selective in finding people. So how does this really work out when it comes to your, corporate life? So it was a very insightful discussion. Thank you so much for your comments, Ms. Khezran. I think, Zanan, we could move on to another question if you
Well,
want,
we
and or
definitely
maybe
will. We
more
definitely
presentation.
can. And I think just taking to the presentation that we had, there's a big notion that are introverts a good team player or not, and how exactly they gel in a team. Because what we are now talking about, somebody who's got a very uh, thought, well thought sort of a presence of theirs, either it is in the team or at the workplace. Because what they don't mingle in with, it's socially they don't mingle in with. They're not actually very good fans of short talks. They always want, okay, if you want to discuss anything, that has to be a deep discussion, a deep thought. But okay, we can have a discussion for like maybe 20, 25, 30 odd minutes. So how are you, what are you doing, what are you wearing, why are you doing what you're doing, what you had last night? These are the questions that are very uncommon. They're not very much welcomed by the introverts, and they have a very straightforward automatic response to it. Yeah, I was good, fine. They just want to kill the discussion straight away because it's a very very short sort of a discussion. So how exactly an introvert can be a good team player, which they definitely are, but everybody else needs to know how they like to operate in teams. So this is one very important question, I think, that how exactly introverts are an effective part of a team.
Right. So, Hanan, if you ask me, and when it comes to looking at teams which are actually already performing, I think they present a very strong foothold to the entire clan that works together in groups. I think they bring this synergy to the team itself that it becomes very very beneficial for everybody to work around. So now, like I said, that they sort of balance out the extroverts on the offside. At the same time, they add on to their strengths as well. So I don't know, can we have Khejran share her thoughts about it? How do you think? Because we'd like to know your perspective because you're an introvert yourself. How do you really go about doing this? Let's say there was a group project and you were given one, and you had to operate in a group. So we've heard that they don't really do well or something like that. But is that true in your case? Would you say so?
I think we can't really stereotype introversion. There are different dynamics to it, and that's the beauty of humankind, that everybody on their own individualistic manner deal with thing in a different manner. So there are like a billion types of introverts as well. But yes, very aptly put, Verda. I think that if uh, there's there's this balance that introverts and extroverts together create, and that's the beauty of it, and that's how kind of works out for people, whether it's a corporation or any that it might happen. But I think that right off the bat, I would say that for me, I know that there is this defining sort of there's this high sensitivity to external stimuli that most introverts face, and it is part of their lives, and they try to kind of overcome that, but it is what it is. So, but like I said, I would just go back to my own experiences, that they just kind of have to deal with things in a manner that just works out for them, which will also kind of balance it out for other people as well, especially if you're in, if you're collaborating with somebody or there's some sort of collusion. So, like I said, avoiding confrontations, maybe sliding your own perceivements into like discussions and stuff like that, that may just work out for you. And I feel like for me, what worked out beautifully for me was that if I was just uncomfortable with something, I just go and just say it in a very nice manner. I just put it to the person in front of me that this is what I'm uncomfortable with, and this is not working out for me. And if I think if I'm concerned with the brevity of my speech, because of course introverts, they're very brief with whatever they say. They don't really expand upon a lot of things because it's just how they are. They speak in a very straightforward manner. Even for example, I remember in one of my pupil interviews, I couldn't come up with something on my own, and I've got these high esteemed judges and barristers sitting in front of me. Just to kind of ease it up on my level, all I said was that could I just have a minute or two to really think about it? And when I actually did that, I was able to come up with a lot of an answer to get back on track. And I think that it worked out beautifully for me in that case. So I think that just introverts, especially, don't have to be necessarily very hard on themselves. Just take their time, and then they can easily make it work, whether it's a cluster of people or it's just they themselves with just another teammate. They can make it work exceptionally well, and that's the beauty of it.
Perfectly right. So I just want to expand on it because there are a couple of things that I personally came across with all this. You're working in teams, usually the world around is very loud. You just keep on talking about what you're doing, how you're doing it, and everybody gets to know. This is how our corporate culture works as well, that you keep on highlighting what you have done. Even the minutest of contribution that you had in the team or at the workplace, they would just want to just show it to everyone. This is now actually been considered as what I would say the most acceptable standard for our interaction with the other people, intercommunication. Everything comes from the extroverts. If you look at the introversion, the interpersonal communication standards, it just feels like that some introvert actually built them. Some extrovert, sorry, pardon me. So within that situation, within that system, being an introvert, you have to actually pull out double duty. One, you're doing your job because what you're hired for, and two, you have to keep on regularly checking that how you are behaving in a setting and how you are actually getting involved with others and involving others with yourself. See, so when it comes to these introverts, they have lots and lots of benefits, to be honest with you. They are deep thinkers, they are empathetic listeners, they are low profile leaders, to be honest with you. You come to any introvert, if they are in leadership positions, they are very low key, low profile leaders, leading from the back, more like that what I would call servant leadership. That is now a talk of the town. Everybody wants, everybody's talking about, everybody just believes that you have to act as a servant to your team. So they are built in servants to their teams, and they would like their teams to go up ahead, leading from the back, by the way, not from the front, being the part of the team itself, just as a one team. And then they just bring all this vibrance and this intellectual prose. It's not just to them, they would just like to share everything and just take a part of it, not the this whole credit thing. This is the keyword at workplaces nowadays. So probably that is the idea. Sana has joined us back, so we just like you to reflect on it a bit, Sana, that how exactly these individuals, these introverts, they play their major role in teams, and why they're so crucial to have. Because if you have at least one introvert in your team, you never know seriously until you haven't experienced it. It's seriously amazing that you have them.
Okay, so first, we've talked about it a lot of times. They are great listeners. They are, really taking the time to soak up what other people are saying, think it through, and then they come back with some insightful ideas. That not everyone does that in a team, because when we are forming a team, we actually are choosing a combination of different type of people. Someone will be, you know, very extrovert, someone will be quiet, someone will be data skills, someone will be marketing. In the same, we are developing the team, there has to have an introvert. Why? Because you're focused at a high focus. You've got a task, for example, that needs some serious attention to detail. Now, The best thing I believe we can do is we can ask an introverted team member to look. Why? Because they are good and they thrive in those head down, detail oriented situations. I believe. Just give it a try.
So you meant to say that they're not just actually working on the tasks; they're carrying the emotional, what I would say, aspect of the team as a whole as well, because they're the ones who are keeping an eye on everybody. Even I personally believe that they even keep an eye on the body language of anybody. They can judge it from there. If somebody's actually in kind of distress and they need to be taken care of, they need some words of motivation at times, or they should be relieved for a while. Just go, okay, leave the job, just go back to your office, go back to place you like, and just spend some time alone and work hard, do whatever you want to, listen to good music, sometimes even watch a good movie as well, even at workplace. Okay, just spend like 15-20 minutes there, get back as whenever you feel like that you are a part of it. So they are ones who actually are empathetic in that sense. And again, their contribution is very, very, what I would say, veiled. It's very tacit. Their contribution can be felt, it cannot be probably described, because again the standards want you to quantify everything. But when it comes to introverts, their contribution is more qualitative. See, they are working at the work. This is what I already said, that they're always the ones who are pulling double duty. They are not just working on the task, they are also keeping everybody together, themselves together as well, to be part of it. Because it sometimes, okay, so one more thing that I'd like to ask our guests about is solitude. It's very, very crucial and unique with these introverts. Why exactly do would somebody want to sit alone without doing anything, without talking to anyone, without even answering phone calls? Is the most difficult thing for an introvert, to be honest with you. Answering a call, they really don't like it. They despise it, because okay, fine, I just don't want. I'm just contemplating, and this is kind of an interruption. So what is this all about? Everybody wants to know. Why do you want to sit alone every day?
Um, so I wouldn't really necessarily attach a pejorative connotation with solitude. I think it's quite beautiful because there are certain environments where a person kind of really work things out. Um, Certain environments where their brain activity is heightened. For example, my younger brother, who is into economics and finance, during his OA levels, he would listen to rock music on his headphones and study, score a lot better than his peers. For me, for us, for introverts, I think generally, if I may generalize it, they're able to, so their brain activity is heightened when they're in solitude, because there's a lot of self-reflection, there's a lot of introspection that's going on, and I feel like they feel very comfortable. So of course you'd be able to work things out, and you'd be able to perform better if you are in a comfortable environment. I don't think anyone ever has been able to kind of like worked things, performed better in an environment in which they were not comfortable. So I think solitude really kind of helps us delve within ourselves and think things out, strategize things for ourselves, reflect pros, if you're sorting out the advantages and disadvantages of a particular situation or a goal that we're wanting to maybe achieve,
Sure.
pros and cons, all of that. So solitude really does help a lot, because for me, I think something synonymous to solitude would be a noiseless environment. My brain activity is on the top level when I don't have a lot of nuisance around, not a lot of noise pollution around. So I think, yeah, that's what really kind of works out for us. That in solitude we're able to perform better. So that in a space where there's a lot of noise and a lot of people and a lot of crowd, we're able to kind of balance it out.
All right, so why not ask Sana about the same? What a quick reflection on it.
So I think it is a way how we first sometimes need, quality alone time, but a lot of social activity is actually draining us because we are we are processing information and experiences of others. We're not demonstrating that kind of time, but we are always processing. So after some extended period, the
Perfectly
introvert
right. So I think.
restart themselves.
Thank you very much, Sana. It's a really very, very enlightening of course. Let's take the mic to Ms. Verda Yusuf. What are your thoughts on it? Solitude and why have you come across somebody or any of your team members who really like to just cut away for a while, just vanish for a while? And how do other team members perceive that? Because that is a challenge, of course. Somebody who's just simply cut away for a while. How exactly that is to be handled? Because this is some issue
I
that managers face.
So interestingly, that is something actually I come across, and you're very right. Fellow peers might take it as, like Khezran put it, no, Sana did, how she mentioned about how this could just be taken as being rude or something. However, I feel everybody carries energy, and the way that energy has to be converted into action, etc., etc., that happens through a process that everybody has, and we're all very much individuals. Um, and our approach towards converting that energy at workplace or at home or wherever is very, very individual to ourselves. It's very unique to everybody. And for
Right.
introverts in particular, I feel this happens where they replenish their energy by taking a little break. So I really have a few introverts right at my workplace, and it's interesting to observe them. It's interesting how they come up with better solutions when they tell you this is a time when I'll be going to be alone, ma'am. I'm going to let you know after this particular time. So I appreciate this because this is how they process. I mean, this is everybody's process, right? So we own it that way, and we sort of let people know how this really works around. So I think it turns out to be absolutely helpful because that's their source of replenishing their energy. So as long as they're bringing out results and being productive after that, I think that's fine. However, yes, there are people who just take it or misunderstand it sometimes. But I think the moment you get to know such people, who are introverts, you sort of understand their workaround. You get to know how their mechanics are, and then you sort of flow with their energy too. So I feel that that's about it. That's how I would like to put it. Gee.
I feel like
However,
it
if I would like to sort of put on it, so सॉलिट्यूड की हमने बात की तो आई थिंक अकेलापन सभी को पसंद होता है और थोड़ा सा जो मैंने फैक्टर ऑब्जर्व भी किया है जस्ट टू गो बाइलिंगुअल हियर आई हैव रियली सीन दीस पीपल कि जब वो अकेले होते हैं एक तो उनका रिप्लेनिशमेंट तो हो ही रही होती है आई थिंक for them to take that space is very important, and they, like I said, they come back with much more energy. And अगर आप उनसे ऑन स्पॉट भी कुछ मांग लेंगे they might just give you the right answers at that point, but trust me, it's even better when they come back, you
I,
know after their
I would also like to add,
their solitude has been taken care of. Anji,
introverts
please.
actually they enjoy deep thinking and exploring their thoughts and ideas. जब हम लोग अकेले बैठे,
Uh-huh.
so that solitude actually provides us with the space and the quiet which we need to dive into our inner world without any distraction. Because unless and until we dive into that inner world we all have, I don't think we will be able to the come out of our rooms every day.
Mhm.
That is one of the vital necessities a person, an introvert, could have. Solitude.
So can we figure out one thing in common for introverts? Are they really good readers because they like their own space? I'm sure they have their own taste of music. That's right. And are we good readers? I'd like to know.
I think so. I
When it comes
believe.
to you do, Miss Anna, are you a very, very avid reader? Are you?
Okay, so in the context of reading, if I talk about novels or stories, not a very good reader. But if we talk about articles, research articles, current affairs, and grammatical errors, I'm very much of keen in that context. But
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is one thing
absolutely.
which I do not relate to of being an introvert because I have always heard that they are pretty good readers. But I do not, seem to convince myself into reading because I hardly get free time.
All right, all right. I think on this note, we'd sort of call it a day and let you people go as well. Thank you so much, Ms. Khezran. Any ending note that you'd like to give us? Because फिर उसके बाद I'm going to say thank you to all of you, and I think it was wonderful having you on board anyway. So, Ms. Khezran, any ending notes if you'd like to give any?
Firstly, thank you so much for having me. This was such an insightful discussion. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I just leave everyone with a tip that is something that I followed myself as well. Whilst we do kind of gravitate towards being alone and we kind of cherish our solitude a lot, like, this is something that I've kind of tried to work on myself as well. That it's important to strike a balance because one extremity is not healthy. So if we're spending, for example, I know for a fact that I would spend days and days in my room. And my parents would kind of like just ask, just literally just let me out of the room because I'd always be inside my room. I would enjoy that space because that would be my space, clearing my chakras and everything like that. It's important to strike a balance because if I do not do that, I won't be able to accomplish anything in life, and I won't be able to. I think I will not be an asset, especially when it comes to teamwork or collaboration or any of that sort. Whether if it's related to my academia or interpersonal relationships. So just a little tip for everyone that strike a balance whilst you are enjoying your solitude. Also, maybe step out a little out of your circle and kind of try to mingle and engage with people, talk your heart out, and I think that's going to be really helpful for you. And you can just definitely strike that balance that way.
Thank you, thank you. Miss Sana, over to you for your ending note.
I just have one thing. Remember, at the end of the day, we all slide along the understanding people interact with us will, more stronger relationships, more team, more profound workplace. Because, I think for you know, being able to understand differences and expert, expert can like issues and misunderstandings like this. So we have to break, we have to set their existence. Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Sir Hanan, over to you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So, first of all, I have to tender an apology to our viewers for the day. I reckon there has been some network issue and all that. I just was looking at one of the comments, and thank you very much for your patience, in fact, with this. But yeah, sometimes what we learn wants us to give it a reason why we should be learning it. So probably we have given it. However, we'll continue with these podcasts for sure. But like we always say, you're most welcome to leave your comments later. If you're watching it later, you weren't part of the live session, no worries at all. Just output in the comments as well because we need a lot of that. But we start getting suggestions as well. It helps us to improve, and we just come up the next time. Whenever we come up, we'll come up in a better way, shape and better version for sure. And again, finally, thanks to the guests. Thank you very much, Khezran and Misana and Mr. Verda Yusuf as well. It was an honor. I had a couple of network interruptions myself, but yeah, this is how the IT works, and I think we are all very convenient and comfortable with that. So thanks a lot, viewers. And again, like I would like to say
If, if,
that, yeah,
if, if,
sure, ma'am.
if I may just put in something, had it not been a introvert moderating the session and getting these glitches, I think we should have had I don't know, a mighty outburst already. So I'm glad we had
That's all right.
an introvert doing this for
Well,
us.
that's
So
left for
lovely.
later. That's
Thank you
left
so
for
much.
the solitude time. I think later tonight. Yes, there will be a contemplation
Okay.
for sure that how it all happened. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much, viewers. We'll get back very soon with another topic. Keep a track on that on our page, and don't forget to follow us on our YouTube channel as well. We've got the link in the description for sure. See you later. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a
Thank you.
lot.
Thank you.